Hi everyone, I am May from May's Vault, and this is
Tanner Lawley from Tanner Lawley's Non-Vault.
Non-Vault, yes, and we're doing a one-on-one today. I really want to get to know Tanner. I want to know his story and what the big picture is about his hearts and his art. So we met very randomly. We met at We Live 19.
Yep. How did we start? What did I say first? I know I paid some compliment, I want to say, and I was throwing a little game, but I was like, hey, just so you know, I'm a married man, and I just want to go ahead and put that out there first. So, you know, I'm a sexy man. So,
my God, we're in a room full of wholesalers and investors. So you told me you were an artist. Actually, you know what's weird is you were an artist, and I was sitting next to a scientist who works for NASA. It could be a mathematician too, a scientist or a mathematician, one of those. And I was like, wow, I was so interested in you guys because you guys were like the unicorns in the room. So tell me why you showed up there. And
first I was brought by Gary Vaynerchuk. So since Gary was going to be the keynote speaker there and we were in Dallas, my gallery is just a few blocks away from the Anatole where that event was at. So we had, Raphael, one of my assistants, had said, hey, Gary's going to be in town. Let's go check it out. So went online, went to go buy the tickets, and when I noticed that there was a mastermind, I was like, hey, I'm going to check this mastermind out and then network and meet other high-level, performers. And it actually worked out great, but that's how we met, was through that mastermind alliance.
So can you give me an insight, like how did you start in this? What is your art about?
Yeah, I started painting. I was actually, at the time, I was a handyman. This was 2006 and beginning of 2006. So I started doing odd-end jobs for a gallery owner and an artist. And so I started, hanging art and fixing stuff. And, that's kind of how everything started for me. And once I saw these artists painting paintings, and I grew up as a paint contractor. So my dad and granddad, I was a third generation paint contractor / everything, now I didn't have a great work ethic at the time. My dad, my family, everybody in my family did, but I was one of those slackers that just I would watch, or I was the owner's kid that would come in and check on the job sites and things like that. But I had, I was working for myself, so I started, networking and meeting higher-end people. But that was how I got into the art world, was just by being a handy guy. So I would go in and fix stuff, but once I saw artists painting, I was like, well, I can do that, and I was like, that's all there is to that.
Cocky much?
I don't know if it was cocky. It was definitely confident, but there was a time in my life where I wasn't confident at all, and I had a hard time having any kind of confidence in myself or self-value or any of those things that are very important when it comes to, emotional maturation or, whatever. Ooh, that was a big word there. So, but, it was just, I had to learn, and, certain times in your life, you're always ready for something else, but I didn't know what it was going to be. But once I found the art, I was like, I'm going to do this.
So let me just clarify. So you were working in an art gallery. You saw the artists in their process, in their moments, and then you were like, I could totally do this.
It was actually before that. I wasn't technically working for them. I was just volunteering because I wanted to learn more about it. But I was making myself useful. I was anytime someone needed help with something, I would jump right in there and help out.
First of all, I think that's so courageous. Like, you just jump right in, because a lot of people hesitate. Second of all, you're just like taking risks. So how did that? Like, what was your process right after? You were like, let me just do it? Like,
I went home and I went and bought some stuff. I went to Michael's, I went and bought some materials, and I started, playing at home. And my girlfriend at the time, she was creative as well, but we would sit down and just kind of create things. And she was 7 or 8 years younger than me at the time, and but we started. I was like, okay, let's figure this out. And then my mentor boss at the time, it wasn't a mentor yet, he actually gave me a lot of his old canvases and his old paints. He was like, oh, these are no good. I don't want these, but you can have them. I'm like, cool. So I would go home and I would just paint on stuff. And I remember after that first one I painted, it was a Batman symbol in the sky. It's like black and dark blue and this white kind of blurry Batman symbol. And the reason I painted that was I was helping an artist install some artwork in this penthouse office over Dallas.
Okay.
And this guy collected high-end sports hero, Batman type, or superhero type memorabilia. Well, I I was so clueless that there was no way I was going to get it, but I was like, I'm going to paint this Batman symbol because this guy's going to want it. And this guy's a multi-millionaire, attorney, one of the biggest attorneys in Dallas. We were in his office, but I didn't know my place at the time. When I painted that piece, I went and took it to my mentor, the boss, which he wasn't a boss yet. He was just a friend.
Okay.
And I showed him this painting. I said, hey, what do you think about this? And he goes, oh, Tanner. He's like, ugh. You're talented at a lot of stuff, but this isn't it. You can't learn, color. You can't learn how to do this, something you're born with, and this isn't something you're born with. But we had a very honest relationship with each other, and when we first met, we had made sure that, hey, I'll be honest with you, you be honest with me, no matter what, don't sugarcoat anything.
Okay.
And so that was a huge benefit that I had. And I try to have that with everybody. Sometimes it come off the wrong way, but I always want to make sure that I speak the truth. So where we stand and, whatever that situation is. And
so how did you take that?
I took it at first, it stung a little bit,
yeah.
But right away I said, you don't know me and my God very well. So
that's how you responded.
That's exactly how I responded. But I believe for faith, perseverance, hard work, I believe all that stuff, you can learn your talents through hard work and effort, but I went straight ahead. It's like, oh, great. Another person that told me I can't do something. Perfect. But I'm the type of person when you tell me I can't do something, that's when I do it.
Me too.
And it's jet fuel. That's the best fuel that I've ever received from someone.
So you started from, can I say, a shitty Batman painting?
Yeah.
So how did you go?
That's a good way to describe it.
You like honest people? I didn't even see it, but it
kind of looked like poo-poo, but whatever.
Okay. So you went from that to these hearts. So can you tell me how your transition was in between? How did you draw your first heart?
Well, we had actually had my first date with my wife on July 23rd, 2008.
Woo! You know the date.
I do, of course. Men, step your game up.
Seriously.
But we met on Match.com. And at the time I was a manager for the gallery. So I was an operations manager. So I handled all of the operations of the gallery. So from hanging the art, painting the walls, managing staff, I pretty much did a lot of that for him. And we had met, and so I took her to the studio, and I had they had given me a little 10-foot wall that I could paint on. So I had one boss, Emil Cirillo, and one boss, J.D. Miller, that were on the side in this big warehouse. So, but I took her there and said, hey, would you like me to paint something for you? And she goes, well, paint me a heart. I was like, okay, I'll paint you a heart, know. And I painted that heart. It was 3 foot by 3 foot. And I painted it in about 20 minutes. And she was blown away, loved it, and it was very monochromatic, very just kind of aqua blue and white, little hints of pink maybe. And but I let it hang in her apartment when we were dating. When I first started painting, I'm real big on vision journals and mapping things out. So I wrote down on my little vision board, I will paint out of love and abundance daily until I die. And I didn't know that it was going to be painting hearts all day. I had no idea that was what it was going to turn into, but it was just painting out of love and abundance.
First of all, shout out to all the strong women who always inspire and help. You know what I mean? Did she get 10% of each painting?
Well, actually, she owns half of everything. She just hasn't collected yet. So thankfully,
So that's really inspiring. So your inspiration is love, and it's so authentic, and it shows because your paintings are beautiful. I think art to me is something that makes you feel, because we live in a world where it's hard to feel genuine or love towards someone. So, there's so much hatred and bad things going on. So to see a heart is so refreshing. So I'm inspired that you went towards love and not against it, because I know in life you feel love, and there's a lot of experiences that are opposite, that you get scarred, you're hurt. So it's inspirational to see that you went towards the light.
Well, I was coming down off of a bad relationship. So when I started studying about love, I actually learned that through the Tao Te Ching. I wrote a top 10 list. There was only 2 things that were physical. She had to have a pretty smile, and she had to be tall. I'm 6'6", but everything else was spiritual and mental on that list. And I think in today's world, everybody is more physically. Yeah. It's well, she's got to have this, and this, but none of those things last over time, especially in relationships. So I went with the most important thing. She had to be a good mother. She had to be a good person. She had to have good work ethic, and all these things that were really important to me. Well, I made that. I filled that out on March 23rd, 2008. It was. So she was living in New Jersey at that time. And then within a month, she had picked up and moved. She didn't know me, so she had came in to Dallas with a new job. But within that 120 days of that happening, I met her. But I knew on the first date that she was 10 for 10 on my list. And so I was like, she's the one. And I knew immediately. Now, she didn't know until our second date that I was the one.
It took her some time.
It did, a little bit. But it was just funny how things happen. But it shows that when you know what you want, and this is my checklist, and, this is what I'm going for.
Okay, so that's really interesting because I'm 25, no husband, no kids. So I'm trying to see, like, sometimes I'm like, wow, I love you. Like, this is love. And, and then, like, the next day, like,
you lose it.
You're blocking the person or you don't talk to them, kind of. Yeah. So as someone who's lived through, like, the hard and the good, what's, like, one piece of advice you would give, like, the younger generation about love? And how do you know when you actually find something so pure?
I think the main thing is to be patient with it. Don't rush into it. We live in a world that's very sexualized. And so a lot of people jump past a lot of the processes of dating and courtship and, a little more old school things. So we're in a Tinder generation, that's like, quick, okay, this is what I want, and they get that fix. And so, if I say anything with relationships, know what you want, but also be patient.
I had this shift last year where I started focusing on long-term everything, long-term relationships, long-term businesses, long-term everything. So that's why when I met you, like, it was crazy because I see the type of person, how genuine and how loving you are. And this art is not just like in the moment kind of thing. There's a legacy behind it. There's a real meaning. And I feel like that's why things last. They last when they have value. Yep. So this is the type of value that you're providing, not just for your family, but for the whole world. So this legacy that you want to pass on to your daughters, like, what do they think about your art? Because kids are vicious. Like, I'm sorry, family is like the worst. Family is the worst criticizers. Is that a word?
It is.
They are the worst.
And today it is.
Yeah. So what do they think? Do they love it? Do they like, Dad, this is terrible? Or
no, they. It's funny. I asked my daughter to pick her favorite painting in the gallery, and she chose someone's that wasn't mine. So it's like I had 50 or 60 pieces of mine up, and she went to my one friend that I had like 2 or 3 of his pieces. She goes, "That's my favorite piece," So she doesn't get it, right now, but she already paints with me. So, and I'm teaching them to paint. Every time they come to the gallery room, they love to paint. When they start painting hearts, my 4-year-old, even, she's painting little hearts. But it's sweet. Something it's such a simple symbol, but it's universal. People love to create. It feeds our soul when we create things and make things. And, I will never stifle that, where for me, when I grew up in my generation, that was stifled because it wasn't an option. Like, you're going to be a broke artist. You're going to be a poor, starving artist. That's what artists are known for. That's what they think. That's what everyone thinks, And, I still get a little perturbed today because people will be like, oh, you're an artist. Can you make a living doing that? Yeah. Or are you able to support your family? And they look at me like, poor guy, you're an artist. And I'm like, if you only knew, know, and
because you're not just an artist, you're an artist who has a business and a plan. It's not like you're just going around painting on the streets and like that's like the idea that we get like the movie, the films, just like a dreamer waiting for someone to come pick them up off of the street and make them a big deal kind of thing.
And I am that, exactly what you said. I am that, but also put myself in position to where those people that do walk by, those people are looking for artwork.
A lot of people don't know that side of like how hardworking you are. But I was watching the interview with Propelio yesterday, and you work 60 to 70 hours a week, right?
And I have for the last 5 or 6 years minimum.
Straight.
But actually for the last 12 years I've worked that much, but 40 or 50 hours of that was handyman or whatever, just that hourly wage working for people. But when I got done with that, I worked at nighttime. So I have, over the last several years, I have formed the habit of working night and day. When I put my kids to bed, my house shuts down around 8 o'clock at night, 8:30. So when they're in bed, I go grind for another 3 or 4 hours. I lock the gallery up and I turn my music up and I just get it.
I could see that you're also a content creator. I'm a content creator. So I understand the struggle. Like, people see the finished product and they don't see your sweat, your tears, how much work you put into it. They just see like a polished finishing, and it's not like that. Like on Instagram, like posts that I put up take time. Like I have to go get dressed. Raphael saw me do a story today, and I was just like, blah, 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 blah. I had to take it like a few times, just to even say a message. So sometimes like the art that people see they don't see the story behind it or how much work it takes. So I totally understand that part of it. What can I ask you that's very random? So what is one thing that you have struggled with all your life, but you seem like you're getting better at? Just because, art, the exposure that you're getting.
I mean, my biggest struggle was speaking in front of people. So and that's most people's fear. Most people would rather die than get in front of a crowd. Well, I was one of those kids that, I was fine in this type of setting, but as soon as the camera or whatever came up, I just froze up, and then I wouldn't be natural. I mean, it was such a bad thing. Like my freshman year of college, I think every college, you still have to take
public speaking.
Speech communications
it's
or
an
whatever.
Elective, so people avoid it, but I took it.
Well, we had speech communications was what ours was called, and in that you had to get up in front of the crowd and speak to people, in front of your little class. Well, I was so nervous and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I remember I was speaking about the world's largest bodyguard and bouncer, and his name was Calvin Lane. I had act like I was getting thrown out of a nightclub to talk about my presentation. Well, when
wait, this is the beginning. This is
the
like
beginning
your
of the
entrance?
class. This is my entrance. So
like to your public speaking.
To the classroom. I busted open the door. I threw myself to the ground like I was getting thrown out of a club. Well, whenever I threw and hit the ground, I dislocated my shoulder. So when I hit the ground and I got up and I was like, whoa, did you see how big that guy was? And as soon as I went like this hand went up and then this hand was like, and I was like, did you see how big that guy was? And I was like, and all of a sudden I started getting real sick. Like, oh my goodness, my shoulder just drops. Well, our teacher was filming this so we could watch it and study ourselves.
Embarrassing. This is terrible.
So I basically had to leave. I was like, I'm sorry, I don't think I can finish. She goes, are you serious? Is this? I was like, no, I think I hurt something. Like something's really off.
So your arm was just drooped?
It just drooped, and it's just like, oh my goodness, like I don't feel good. And so I was like, I gotta go. So I went out in the hallway, threw up, and because my shoulder was totally dislocated. And so I ended up going to the hospital and they popped it back into place and all that stuff. So I still had to finish my presentation. And by that time, it was in the library and it had stayed checked out by the whole school. Like the whole school was checking my video out and making fun and all that.
I would have transferred. I would have transferred schools at that point.
So I go back in on Thursday to read. This was a Thursday class. So on Thursday I go back in there and so I'm in a sling and I go up and I was like, well, I guess y'all know, what happened last time, so I finished the speech. It was terrible, of course, but I remember I failed the speech and I failed it. And she said, you didn't have she said, what'd she say? She said, you didn't have an attention getter. I was like, well, I already had your attention. She goes, well, this is a new speech. You can't go off the past. I'm like,
what about the
class? Are you kidding me? Yeah. So I almost failed speech my freshman year because I couldn't get in front of people and I had so much fear. Now like when I go and speak in front of a crowd, and I've spoken in front of
no more broken shoulders.
Well, and I went back to that college and I actually spoke in front of 2,000 or 3,000 people at homecoming chapel and all that, and I was able to get up and speak in front of them. But now when I get those little butterflies in my stomach, I look forward to that because that's the realest feeling I have anymore, other than a love for my daughters or that's a different kind of feeling.
If you're looking forward to your failures, like what are some of the obstacles what's the biggest obstacle in your art that you faced and you move past?
I mean, the biggest obstacle is
pain.
It's taking stuff personally. Most people, when someone says something that kind of cuts to the bone about your work, it hurts.
Yeah.
Well, now I've learned that that's just one opinion, and there's 7 billion and growing opinions in the world. So I can't make everybody happy, but I don't want to. So the hardest part was to take stuff personal. So many times we take someone's words personally, and we'll accept their words as truth. Well, how do we know what they went through? I mean, you could have just broke up with your boyfriend before you came and threw me some shade, you know, and I had nothing to do with your bad day before you came to me.
Yeah.
But if I took what you told me as a truth and you affected my day in a bad way, you know, and it really had nothing to do with me, and what you said to me that hurt really wasn't my fault, and it was really because this person hurt you.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of times we take stuff personally, and now I don't take anything personally.
So I love the dynamic of how you share love and your story, and then when you give a painting away, you love how people tell you about their journey and story of love. So what do you do with those stories? How does that affect you?
I've been collecting these stories now because I'm going to paint love until I die. And I want to paint more symbols of love than any artist ever thought about it. Like, there's some big name artists out there that are actually in the show that, you know, they'll have a heart like this and it'll be several $100,000. Now, it doesn't speak the same as this, but that artist has been doing it for 40 or 50 years. But I'm going to beat him, you know, and it's not even a competition. It is it's a lifetime mastery. Now I love everybody just the way they are. And everybody, like, you're perfect just the way you are. I wouldn't change the way about you.
I know.
You know?
Tell me.
Tell us something we don't know, you know, but Raphael's perfect. And that person just walked by is perfect. But the sooner that we look at people in that light, the sooner they look back at us with that light.
Are you collecting the hearts?
I am. I've been collecting stories. Yeah. So I
stories.
started a book for my daughters called 10,000 Hearts.
Too cute. I can't. This is
So, and I want to leave 10,000 stories of love behind to my kids. Like, I want, when I'm dead and gone, I want them to be able to go back and look at a family that has, you know, picture with me and them and a little story about it.
Doesn't giving like give you this satisfaction? It's like you can't even explain it. Just
and I know that if I give more than any artist ever gave, that's really what's going to pay my kids someday.
So since we're on the topic of giving away, I'm going to wrap it up with giving away something. So do you want to let the cat out of the bag?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So we are going to give away a heart. These hearts are valued at $550. Can you explain what kind of work goes into this painting?
So what we're going to do, we're going to give away one of my Loving You series. So the Loving You series is a personalized series. It's a 10 by 10 original oil on canvas. They work with several different layers. I'm working on, you know, it'll be 5 or 6, 10 layers sometimes worth of paint as I'm building up. But each one of them will be personalized. So what we're going to do is that whoever gives us the best statement that we really think is their story of love.
Okay, so I'm going to jump in. So I'm going to post the giveaway on Instagram, and this is going to be the question. Okay. I'm just going to like preview the question. What is the most important thing you have learned about love, and why is love important to you? So if you answer those 2 questions, there's also going to be some rules on Instagram. He's going to give away, which is so kind of you, one of his hearts. And it's going to be personalized and customized to your love story, what love means to you, and why it's important.
Your colors, I'm going to make it for you. So whoever wins this contest, I'm going to make it just for them, and I'll send it to them. It won't cost them a dime, but it'll be framed, be shipped, it'll be a finished out piece for them. And that story that they write for, that we select, that's going to be the story that's going to go in the book. So I'm going to publish their story, and then they'll be able to share that love with somebody else. So.
Like, I love it. I love it so much. So I'm super excited to be doing this giveaway with him, and we can't wait to hear your stories and know more about you guys. So, yeah. Yeah,
please share us your best and speak from the heart. You know, if you want to win, speak from the heart. And honestly, if there's 2 or 3 stories and I can't choose, both 2 or 3 people may win.
So thank you guys. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I appreciated it.
Thank you.
Yes. And I love talking to you. We're going to do this again maybe. So.
Yeah, more to come this weekend.
More to come. Bye.